News Network.
We learned today, again, how treacherous the war in Central Asia can be. Afghanistan is a country, they say, of extremes, the terrain and especially the weather. Summer extremely hot, winter bitterly cold, and it's winter now, as if you needed to be reminded. While the Afghans may be used to it, U.S. forces have to toughen up a bit before they get there. And tonight in segment 7, the place where they tough it up fast. In fact, you might want to crank up the space heater. Our guide this evening, CNN's Beth Nissan.
Winters in Afghanistan can be brutally cold, especially in the mountains. U.S. military planes flying over the region risk going down or being shot down into Arctic cold, -20 to -50 degrees Fahrenheit. To learn how to survive that, pilots and air crews come here to Alaska, 150 miles south of the Arctic Circle, to Eielson Air Force Base outside Fairbanks, home of the Arctic Survival School.
The will to survive is a big factor for you as a survivor, and it's the desire to live, right? And this is what's going to drive you. This is what's going to give you the motivation to get yourself home to your family, get yourself home to your job.
The school's motto, learn and return. It is part of mission training for a military pilot.
If I have to eject and I'm surviving in the Arctic conditions, then that is my new mission. My job at that point is to survive and make it home.
The primary focus of our school is to train a pilot for the unthinkable, getting shot down, engine malfunction over a very austere location. It could be here in Alaska, but we also prepare them for other environments too, Afghanistan being one of them.
Students get 2 days of classroom instruction, covering everything from making shelters out of life rafts and parachutes to avoiding frostbite.
If it was your hand or your foot, it can actually become useless. You've got basically a frozen club that you're trying to deal with.
Classroom work is followed by demonstrations on how to find good drinking water.
Once I've got water, now I can start thinking about food.
And how to forage for dinner.
And that's where we can start looking at some of the plant life that's out here.
A survival hint, 90% of blue or blackberries are edible, only 50% of red ones are.
Starting off with the academics, there gives you a chance to hear it. Now this gives you a chance to visually see it, and then the next step is go out the woods and do it.
Just after 0700 hours the next morning, students and instructors head into the Alaskan interior for 2 days and 2 long nights of field classes.
We're going to have to find a way to combat the cold so that we can maintain 98.6. Remember, that's our main goal here. Maintain 98.6, and then we can try to activate rescue. We have to stay alive to get rescued.
On a hike to the outdoor classroom through snow so cold it squeaks, students set priorities. Use the first of their few hours of winter daylight to build a rescue signal.
The idea that I'm looking for here is having an area with as much visibility as possible to where I can see an aircraft coming or the aircraft can see me.
Students use what materials they can find, small pine trees and branches.
Okay. That was easy.
They arrange them into a standard rescue symbol, a giant letter V.
If someone was injured here, I would put out an X. That would be telling rescue forces that we need medical attention. Since we are not in that situation, we'll put out a V. That basically means need assistance.
The survival school does not teach winter warfare, although it does teach students to combat the cold. How dangerous an enemy is cold?
It'll kill you. The cold will take you down very quick. I mean, as fast as 15 to 20 minutes, you would be done.
At the sun's feeble high on this day, the temperature is 25 degrees below zero, cold enough to kill by mere exposure, to cause lethal dehydration. Extreme cold speeds up body metabolism, burns water. Students learn to gather snow and ice in pouches and melt it with body heat.
I would go ahead and brush the outside of the bag off so that as I'm putting it in between the layers of my clothing, I don't end up with a whole bunch of wet clothing due to the snow melting.
Wet clothes harden into an icy shell, drop body temperature sharply. Students are taught to stay active but move slowly, avoid breaking into a sweat.
I'm going to just start loosening my layers of my clothing, open up the flight suit a little bit just to let that heat get out.
Students use another hour of weak daylight to find wood to make shelter frames and fire. Dead trees can be processed into logs and kindling with emergency kit tools and a little knowledge of backwoods physics.
knocked the snow off of it, and I got a pretty good piece of split wood.
Standard issue emergency kits contain a knife and matches. Students learn how to use them and later how to use flint to make a fire in the icy cold.
I'm gonna strike the match, cut my hand, wait till that match head gets going really well, put it in there.
And a survivor has fire, essential warmth, a flicker of hope. It looks like a straightforward process until the students try to do it themselves with cold, numbed hands.
We push them out there and make sure that they can do it, and if they need a little help, we'll give them some help. So that one day if they flame out or they get hit by a surface-to-air missile or something happens, they need to get out of that aircraft and they find themselves in an Arctic situation, it'll all come back to them. They may not think it will, but it'll all come back to them.
And give them a better chance of coming back home. Beth Nissan, CNN, in the Alaskan interior.
And that's our report for tonight. Did I mention that tomorrow we'll be flying early to Tampa to talk to General Tommy Franks, who's run the war in Afghanistan, and it's an exclusive interview, his first primetime interview. And I mentioned